with me. Why were you going that way when Gas Tree was that way?
That's Gas Tree right behind us.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
Why'd you go that way?
Stop being so picky.
Because I was having a stroke. Yeah.
Thanks for pointing out. He's a little sensitive about it.
Next year I'll be here at the tree. Literally, when you get here.
About it now, you pointed out. Thanks.
Yeah.
Last time we went down the trail, everybody sick.
Anyway, listen, this is everybody. This is the gas tree. What is commonly known as in the old days as the gas light tree, and we basically this area that you're in now here is was all run by half tracks and full tracks, and they hunted deer here. It was very lucrative. If you go around that tree, there's a trail that goes straight to that levee. And that levee is where the old Sportsman's Crossing, the true Sportsman's Crossing was. The bridge, and on the other side of that is Brown's Farm. All right, now it's turned into STA or some kind of treatment cells. But back then, everybody hunted this area, and it was very lucrative. And when I say that, during hunting season, people would park all down US 27, all down this levee, all on that bridge. Sometimes when they were camped, the deer would run over the bridge and run through. Everybody was getting deer. It was unbelievable. It was just literally the numbers that they talk about in deer was 5,000 deer. 5,000 3A north, 5,000 3A south, and 5,000 over here. There's still a lot of deer up in the north end. And for all the people that think Area 2 is a small area, if you look that way, look towards Wellington, because that's where it pretty much winds up there. It's a much bigger area than people ever think it is, because they don't really ride this area. And this tree here is significant because in the old days, they didn't have radios and phones and all the things we have today. So what they would do is that they would have, and GPS, so they'd be running this area, and they'd be running as late as they could, and whoever was the last one here, in the daytime, they would hang a lantern in the tree. So the guys out here could see the lantern so they knew that the trail was this way back to the camp. Because it gets very dark out here, as you all know, right? So it's started as a gas light tree, but then they started putting gas here too, because it's obviously they're burning a lot of fuel in those tracks. So that's really how the gas tree, the history of the gas tree started. And gas light tree, gas tree, that's actually the deal. Now what happened is that they quit hunting out here. They closed off Brown's Farm. They did all the things. They changed everything that was to what it is now. So this tree still held significance to the guys that were out here hunting. So sometimes, initially when we get a request, when they died, I want to be put at the gas tree. So even though that's not the original tree, it blew down. The original tree's laying down sideways there. But that tree was planted, this new tree was planted by Gerald Motes. And there's a plaque over there, and there's some other stuff that's kind of grown up right now. But basically, guys would come out here, let's say they were into dogs. Well, when they spread their ashes, or they put their ashes, and they make a little containers and hang them in the branches, they might put dog leashes up there. Or if they were into horses, they might put some halters. Or if they were into frog gigging, there's some gigs over there. If they're into drinking, there's some beer cans over there, okay? So all the stuff that they were kind of known for, they put to that tree. So it's kind of symbolic. It's kind of almost like a spirit tree, like the Indians would have a spirit tree. It kind of became the Gladesman spirit tree. And anyway, it continued, and we started putting more people, and as they found out that these people were put here, they wanted their ashes spread. We spread Jim Martin. You guys remember Jim Martin, a member of our club. We actually put his boat there. We put his ashes and sprayed them all out here. So it's there's a lot of people here that you may know, you may not know. We had a woman come up to us one day at the Loxahatchee, and Ray Clay was standing there, and the woman said that her son had died, and he always loved the Everglades, and he wanted to be buried in the Everglades. So he's here too. We brought her and her whole family, brought everybody out, had a big celebration, and it was great. So there's a lot of history with this tree, and and what we're doing here today is the memorial run. We try to visit it during the year. President Fernando Gonzalez, right here straight ahead of us, he asked me to do this because I had written an article and kind of know a little bit about it. And so he wanted me to share that knowledge with you. The guys that we're basically honoring today is the past president, Tom Baker Sr., who some of you may have known, some of you may not have known, but he actually owned Sawgrass Recreational Park at one time, which is known as Andytown Incorporated. And I'm sure you guys remember, some of you remember Andytown. It was right there at 27 and 595. Used to be a big bar there, and it was called Andytown. And anyway, so Andytown Incorporated took over Sawgrass Park. And then it sold to Rick Sovereigns, who's another one of our members, who's honored here on our plaque also, but not today. We did him a few years back. So we got Tom Baker Sr., and I want to tell you that I spoke to his widow, Ginger Baker, and had a real nice conversation with her, and she was telling me a lot of stories. And, you know, we're going to, Bill Terry, myself, Steve Lorenzi, and hopefully Nate Fisher, we're going to get together. We're going to start collecting these stories. Everybody says they're being lost. Well, they're right, and we need to start collecting them, and we're going to make that effort. And hopefully you'll be seeing that in a newsletter that we're going to get out back again to all the members. So Tom Baker was a good guy. He did a lot of frogging. He did a lot of alligator killing. Back then, there wasn't really a limit on him. You could kill as many as you wanted, and he did. And he would sell the alligator meat. He would sell the frogs, and he also dolphin fished, and he would sell dolphin meat to Delaware Chicken over there. So he was a very energetic guy and did a lot of stuff and absolutely loved the Everglades. So he's being honored. Donnie Hansard is the second person, and I know a lot of you know Donnie because he was very young. I think he basically was 94, 2004. He was like 40 years old. He passed away unexpectedly. He was moved up to Hawthorne, and I think it was Hawthorne or Brooksville, and he passed away up there. He was a plumber. He's had a son named Aiden, and they would come out to camp, and he used to hold Aiden upside down and go down the dock and pick up beer cans, you know, like that. And he was a good guy, and we'll miss him. Third fellow that's a member of our club that we're honoring is Chris Mears. And Chris Mears is actually a new member of the club. His father was Boog Mears. Some of you may know, not know, but he was very much a gladesman. He really lived the life. He hunted, he fished, he built full tracks, he built half tracks, he built ATVs, airboats. Whenever we would do a cleanup on area 3A North, he would bring dumpsters from the Waste Management Services where he worked, 20-yard dumpsters, and we'd fill them up. He'd take them away, no charge. So he was really a good guy. He was only 36 years old, and unfortunately we lost him to an ATV accident January 1st, 3:30 in the morning. So he actually 3.5 hours into this year was the end of his young life, and good guy. The other fellows we're honoring here today also were not members, but some of you may or may not know them, but they certainly had an impact on our lifestyle and the way we live. The first one was Lacey Everett. Now, when that name was, hold the laughter down. Yeah, when that name was mentioned, I kept saying, I know that name, but I don't know that fella. And anyway, as we searched around a little bit, you guys may know him too. If you went up the Turnpike, up around Boynton Beach, and I think Palm Beach Boulevard, whatever it is.
No, Boynton Beach and the Turnpike.
Yeah, Boynton Beach and Turnpike. He had a shop right there, and it was like a pole barn, and it went back, and you could see he had the airboats, and he had a ramp he put in where he'd run them boats up and down the Florida Turnpike, right, you know, when he'd get them worked out. And he was a real racer. He was actually one of the first, real high performance boat builders that we had, and he was in Palm Beach. He was an excellent aircraft mechanic. I can tell you that after I realized who he was, I remembered stories that literally people were plagued with problems with their aircraft engines, and when they just finally gave up, they'd take up to him. And he'd find out that maybe their rings were in upside down or backwards and all kinds of things, and he was just that good and a real racer, and he made a truly a big impact on Broward County, Palm Beach County, and Dade County for the airboating world and racing. The next guy came to me. We were at our meeting, our last general membership meeting, and Bill Lash, who's a life member of our club, said, you know, we ought to honor Jerry and Bruce Kronk. And I said, who are they? And he said, well, I grew up with Bruce. And I said, oh, okay. So I said, he said, they also had the beach club camp, which we're going to go to next. But basically, how they got it is, and I'm going to tell you an important thing. Jerry Kronk was in the World War II, and he was a fabricator and a machinist. And he's one of the guys that developed the first bariatric chamber, all right, which is a pretty impressive thing because, you know, as you know, people that get the bins, they put them in those chambers. Now they use them for deep tissue oxygen impregnation for wounds. So it's a really important thing medically. So he did not only a lot for airboating, which I'll tell you in a second also, but he did a lot for just the human race and healing people. The other thing he did for airboating is that his son was walking down Tamiami Trail gigging frogs. That's what they did. They were gigging frogs. And a couple guys went by in an airboat. And he said to his buddy, we ought to build one of those things. And so they built three. They put I got three fiberglass hulls, and they put Cadillac motors in them. But back then, you know, everything was an airboat. So they put a Cadillac motor in it. Then they asked Jerry, can you make an adapter to put a prop on this Cadillac? And he did. And everybody that had a direct drive motorboat, a car boat with a prop, had one of his manufactured spacers. So he did a lot there. And he was also an avid duck hunter, and he would spend weeks out here in the Everglades at his camp. Really, really good guy. His son, who got basically the motor going as far as airboating, he grew up with William, and William was telling me that he was one of those guys that just couldn't go fast enough. He had to go faster and faster and faster, and everything he did like 110%. Well, I went online to legacy.com, and I got his obituary. So I could tell you guys a little something about him. But what I really want to share with you is what this guy's military record was. You know, besides all being a good father and all those things, and that everybody says in the obituaries, this was said, and I want to read it to you. When called to serve his country, he answered with nothing short of heroism, earning 3 Bronze Stars for valor, 2 Purple Hearts, and an Air Medal for 100 drops into landing zones under fire during the Vietnam War. That's bad. That's a badass here. I get emotional reading that. But anyway, he and his father got into the beach club camp because he was driving by there. He lived in Hialeah, but he was frogging up here because everybody said the frogs were so good in 2A. So he went by Beach Club Camp, and there was a guy named Eddie McCrae who owned the camp, and there's a guy named Sly, and I don't know Sly's last name, but anyway, they said that they got his number, they contacted him, and they said, look, we like the frog, and we see your camp needs some work. You know, we'll come fix your camp if you let us sleep there once in a while we frog. He said, hell, I'll do better than that. You'll be a member if you fix it up. So they became members, and to this day, his family is still there. And hopefully his sister's husband, I spoke to last night for an hour and a half and laughed constantly, is named Mike Diaz. And he said, I'm going to see if I can get out to camp when you guys come there. I said, okay. So I hope he's there. But if he's not, I just want you to know that camp It was rebuilt after the hurricane, and they, again, they did it again, and basically, I think camp really looks nice when I went by it, but there's been a lot of work, and I just wanted, those are the guys we're doing today, honoring. I'm so happy that that everybody could make it, and thank you very much, Fernando, for letting me do this, and basically, we'll go here and we'll head back to the beach club, and hopefully, I mean, as hot as it's been, this is pretty good weather, and we'll get back there and show the camp. We'll talk a little bit more, and then we'll head back and have some lunch and stuff. So, okay, everybody good?
Thank you.
Okay.